The Compliance Perspectives podcast is sponsored by Athena, automated compliance training, an employee hotline, and case management all in one tool. Welcome to the Compliance Perspectives podcast. I'm Adam Turtletop from the Society of Corporate Compliance and Ethics and Healthcare Compliance Association. Joining us today from Baku, Azerbaijan is Sevda Huseynova. Sevda is Ethics and Compliance Officer for SOCAR Midstream, and today we're going to be talking about the challenges of compliance there and at a state-owned enterprise. Sevda, thank you so much for taking the time to talk to us. First, can you give us a brief overview of SOCAR Midstream and its key compliance risk areas?
Adam, thank you for this opportunity. It's my pleasure to join this session. And yes, I represent SOCAR Midstream as an ethics and compliance manager. So our entity, SOCAR Midstream Operations, is a state-owned enterprise, and it represents the strategic shareholding and interests of the country in onshore oil and gas pipelines, including the South Caucasian pipeline. This is the export pipeline. So as we are operating in a complex and geographically diverse environment, the company faces several compliance challenges and the first place it comes, of course, the anti-corruption and bribery risks, as we are interacting with multiple stakeholders, including government, contractors, our joint venture partners. This increases in general the exposure of the company to the potential corrupt practices. And the second risk is the sanction risk. Of course, we are in a geopolitically sensitive area. The clash of the energy projects throughout the region. So we need to ensure that the international sanctions regime is respected too. And another risk area is the third-party risks, of course. We work with too many vendors, contractors, local entities, and this necessitates the robust due diligence to prevent misconduct. And of course, I can say that the last risk area is the ECG risk. As a key player in an energy sector, we are doing and planning to elaborate it more to navigate growing global scrutiny on environmental impact, the human rights, and the governance practices.
That's it. That's a lot to manage there. So, what is the state of compliance programs overall in Azerbaijan?
In Azerbaijan, compliance is relatively new. This compliance function have become increasingly relevant only in the recent years. And for the SOCAR system itself, as we are one of the the sister companies of SOCAR headquarters, the compliance programs in the state-owned enterprises are much more newer than the other private sector. And currently, more and more companies are building and implementing compliance programs. We, as the SOCAR midstream, are also inherited this compliance experience from our shareholders mainly, which were the international companies. But in another side, we have some law legislation acts, which were mainly in anti-corruption, but the compliance itself is comparatively new.
So, what led to the development of the compliance program at SOCAR? Was it the international investors, the law, or a combination of all of them?
Actually, this started with the shareholders, investors, as we are the technical and commercial operator of the main export gas pipeline, who has the different shareholders, where there are very well-known international giant oil and gas companies. This was first coming requirement from these entities, and in addition, there was the law reforms on anti-corruption and fighting money laundering and financing terrorism. So this law also puts some requirements on the private sector and the state-owned enterprises to build up on the compliance program. So one side is the investor shareholder requirement, the second side is the law requirements, and there was also the third stream, which were mainly the international organizations requirement on the country, as Azerbaijan is the part of the OECD, Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development, Istanbul Anti-Corruption Action Plan, and within this commitment, government committed to make the yearly anti-corruption reforms, including and the compliance programs are part of this reforms. So main three streams were the, as we mentioned, shareholders, laws and regulations locally adopted and renewed, and the third stream is the requirements of the international companies, international organizations, and including the UN, as Azerbaijan is also the party to the UN Convention on Fighting Corruption. Yeah.
So, how is the compliance program structured?
Ethics and compliance program in SOCAR midstream is a three functional tiered unit. There is a preventive function, detective function, and corrective function. Preventive function within the compliance is responsible for the risk management and the due diligence tier. This is mainly this. Detective function is more about the advisory and programming, and the corrective function is the concerns management. To execute these three tiers, there's the ethics and compliance program in SOCAR midstream have been developed to consist of 7 key elements. And this was also in line with the international laws such as US sentencing guidelines, good practices by OECD, and UK Bribery Act 6 principles for the compliance program. So the elements are the top-level commitment, business integrity risk assessment, communication and training, yes, due diligence, and monitoring and audit. And these elements are comprising the whole compliance program in SOCAR midstream. But these elements are very flexible and interrelated with each other. For example, while doing the monitoring audit, this is very closely related with the business integrity risk assessment, and also the concerns management, reporting and remediation element is very in close relation with the communication and training.
Interesting, and very much what you'd expect from a compliance program anywhere. So, finally, what advice would you give to others developing compliance programs in state-owned enterprises?
Developing the effective compliance program in the state-owned enterprises, of course, is a little bit challenging than the private sector because it has to consider the commercial operations and also the national interest as it's the state-owned. The first and key point here is to gain the leadership buy-in and the setting the tone at the top. Without the leadership commitment, it would not be effective or it would not have any result. Another recommendation is customizing the program to the state-owned enterprises context, because there is no one-fit-all compliance program, of course, but as the structure and management and corporate governance of the state-owned enterprise are different, this should be tailored. Another recommendation is building a strong compliance infrastructure with all its functional supports, technology, etc., and strengthening the third-party management. State-owned enterprises often work with a wide range of partners who expose them to the third-party risks. And finally, monitoring, measuring, and improvement. The continuous monitoring, measuring, and improvement is needed as the compliance is an evolving field, and the programs need to be adapted to new challenges.
Well, Sevda, thank you so much for sharing your insights with us today, and I think being our first guest from Azerbaijan. I want to thank all of you also for taking the time to listen. I'm Adam Turtletaub from SCCE and HCCA. I hope we're able to expand your compliance perspective.